Hey guys, Joe Tunney here at Infiniti of Kirkland in Kirkland, Washington, just outside of Seattle, taking a look at an absolutely beautiful 2013 Audi A5 just traded in. And coincidentally, we have taken in two A5s. One's a prestige model and this one's a premium model. But even more curiously, we took in 5 cars this weekend. Here we are far away in Seattle. All 5 from the state of Texas. People who just moved up here and coincidentally all traded in their cars on the same weekend here at Infiniti of Kirkland. And welcome to Washington, all of you from the great state of Texas. Myself, having lived growing up in Austin, Texas, I'm a big fan of Texas, but I'm even a bigger fan of the Seattle area, one of the most beautiful cities in the entire world. And one of the nice things about this particular car coming from Texas, just about everything there is 2-wheel drive. So it's a bit of a surprise that this A5 is a Quattro all-wheel drive, and that makes it much more valuable and desirable here in the Pacific Northwest. Now, 2013 is a little bit of a freshening, not too much, but the front end's just a teeny tiny bit different than it was in 2012. And so, keeping with the company's design philosophy, they have a look that's distinctively Audi, and it is super, super impressive. And then, of course, they've got those terrific looking headlights. And so Audi, just for whatever reason, has kind of captured the fancy of particularly the American audience with their headlamps. And you see pretty much every other brand selling cars is doing everything in their power to look as much like Audi as you possibly can in this one distinctive feature that people are fond of. This one's a premium package with the lighting package, and so with the lighting package you get xenons to go with the LEDs. Black on black, this is a really dynamite color combination in this car. And as we take a look around, this one's just traded in, so sure it's a little bit dirty and what have you, but it does come with 18-inch wheels, and so that's the standard size for an A5. And even if you get a sports package, it still comes with 18-inch wheels. To get a 19-inch wheel is a standalone package. This one, just a little bit of chafing here on the outer lip, but certainly something that will rectify long before you step foot at the dealership. Inside, it looks great. Beautiful wood trim, beautiful leather, and that big slab of glass sunroof. They call it a sunroof, and I know technically a sunroof is supposed to open up, and these do not, in fact, open up. The back end pops up just an inch or so to let some air in and out of this beautiful coupe, but it does not slide back. One nice thing though, when you're sitting in the back seat, it makes it seem just a million times more spacious. It feels like you're in the back of a convertible looking through this glass roof than it does in just a cramped small area like a two-door often is. And then also there's a shade that pulls back, so if you don't like the bright sunlight beating on your bald head like I don't, then you can close that shade and have it either way with big glass or none. Size-wise, this is a 108.3-inch wheelbase, so it is a longer wheelbase than your traditional coupe. In fact, it's just a few inches removed from, say, our Infiniti Q sedan, just to give you a perspective on the scale of it. And then I know a lot of people say, well, you know, it's the same car as a Jetta or an A4 or something like that. Actually, it's really different. Audi's gone to a lot of trouble to actually turn this car from a front-wheel drive car to a rear-wheel drive car. This particular kind of Quattro system that runs in this car is 40% in the front and 60% of the torque split goes into the back. So the bias is actually rear-wheel drive, not front-wheel drive, and it completely changes the way that this car drives. A lot of cars look sexy, but then they just don't drive all that nice. This is not like that at all. This drives beautifully. And although it's full-time all-wheel drive, it does change as situations change. And so this can go all the way from 70% traction in the front, maybe some heavy rain or something like that, and this car's digging in for all it's worth. It just automatically switches as much as 70% traction in the front, 30% in the back. Or if you're, a lot of burning rubber, or you caught some ice or something like that, and you need power in the back, it can split to 15% in the front and as much as 85% in the back. And so that variable traction is obviously as good as it gets here in the Seattle marketplace. This is the kind of traction system that we love up here. Come take a look around the back of this one. Super, super stylish. This is, again, you already know, you're looking at the video because you're already a big fan of A5s, but it is certainly one of the most beautiful cars on the market, regardless of price. These aren't tremendously expensive, and as they get less expensive, they're getting more popular. You don't see these very often on the resale market, and as we look at auctions and stuff like that, there are like none to be found in the United States. So a popular car, as well as a very hard to find car. Trunk space checks in at a click over 12 cubic feet. The actual proportions of it, though, are pretty effective, although it has these big arching bars here that typically would kind of impinge on cargo space. Since they have their own receptacles here on either end, they actually don't get in the way at all, and then you don't have to worry about a strut or a shock going bad as the years go by. It's always going to work just fine. And then in the back, it does come standard with 60/40 folding rear seats, so that's a nice touch. You can have 3 people in the back and just fold down the big side and really open this up, or just have 2 people, as is very common, and really have almost a station wagon. It is very spacious with the rear seat folded down. 2.0 liter T, so a 2-liter engine with a turbocharger, and they call it their TFSI, and it's their own variation of fuel injection, and it actually means turbo fuel stratified injection. And so what they do is they can run lean or even ultra lean and then dump the fuel into the combustion chamber right at the moment of where it needs to meet the spark and have the drive that piston down, turn the crankshaft. And what that does is, you know, everybody has their own little variation of fuel injection, but this really is a novel advance. This car drives very smoothly. It doesn't feel like a 4-cylinder at all. It feels like a much larger engine just driving around. The experience of it, and that fuel injection system that this has not only makes the car very clean as far as being more of a green type of car, but it also achieves not just 211 horsepower, so better than 105 horsepower per liter, which is really strong, but 258 pound-feet of torque, which is a lot for a 4-cylinder engine. And it does it in a way that's not loud, it's not raspy, there's no engine knock, there's just nothing that you could say negative about this engine at all, other than it doesn't spec as well as some other engines, but the engine itself is dynamite, and this car drives extremely well. Let's jump inside and take a peek. Now, for a car that weighs roughly 3,700 pounds, it's hard to say that there's abundant power in an all-wheel drive car with only 211 horsepower. But when you're driving it, it feels like there's abundant power. It feels like there's all the power in the world. In fact, under full throttle, it's fast. Now on the base model, that's not the case because the front-wheel drive model comes with that Cvt transmission. And although a lot of gizmo types like Cvt transmissions, because again, they spec out well, they'll give you extra spiky highs in fuel economy or what have you. The truth is they're hopelessly sluggish and they're the most unfun transmission in the world. And a car like this, a heavier car with a 4-cylinder engine, it's gonna bog it down to death. This has a 8-speed transmission made by ZF, one of the finest transmission companies in the entire world. They've been making transmissions since they made their first patent in 1920. They've been making the transmissions themselves since 1921, and they're kind of on the who's who list of the swankiest cars in the whole wide world. But more importantly is that their transmissions work and they last a really long time, and they're very, very responsive. ZF makes a dynamite transmission. If you have a choice between this and the CVT, it's not even a choice worth thinking about. This is a million times nicer than the CVT. And so turning it on, again, this is a 4-cylinder turbo, so people say, oh, it's going to be louder than a 6-cylinder or a V8. Well, this car is actually whisper quiet, and so the only chime here is because I've got the door open. But I'm going to give it some gas, and we're going to take a listen and see just how quiet it is. So yeah, a sportier snarl, but actually a very quiet, sporty snarl. This car is a car for chilling out in, relaxing in, cruising around in. You want power, it has power to spare. You want to just chill and look good, this is definitely that car, and at a price that doesn't break the bank. And then because they're impossible to find, the resale value on these is absolutely terrific. I mean, best of the best in this particular segment. They're just so strong. We just park one up on top of the hill, and anybody jogging by, riding their bicycle by, they just want to stop, get off, take a look around it. Whenever you have a car like that, you know you've got something good. This comes with Audi's 4-year, 50,000-mile bumper-to-bumper warranty. So this car has 23,000 odd miles on it, so roughly 27,000 miles of remaining warranty. And then it also has a 12-year rust perforation warranty. Not a big issue up here in the Seattle marketplace, but we've shipped so many of our cars to Canada, to Alaska, all over the United States. And so in other markets, that's actually a pretty neat feature. This is a beautiful car, leather-wrapped steering wheel. It does say iNav here on the steering wheel, but it does not actually have navigation. That's something that just the button is part of the steering wheel. You've got voice commands here. If I need something, I can just,
Sorry.
Here, let me
Possible
respond.
commands are enter PIN, dial number, redial, select name.
And so it's giving me all my voice command options, for doing stereo system type of adjusting, or I can do it with my phone, make my phone calls or what have you, do my satellite radio as this one has. Interesting that it has an Irish accent, on the girl speaking on the computer, but it's cool, it's modern. This one doesn't have a ton of extra features. It's a pretty basic model as far as being a premium package, but it is Quattro. It does have the cool lighting package, and it is a really, really nice car that's not a ton of money. If you have any questions about this car, please don't hesitate to give me a call. My name is Joe Tunney. I'm the sales manager at Infiniti of Kirkland. You can call me anytime, 425-821-1600, or just drop me an email at joet@infinitiofkirkland.com.